Off Knowledge Productions.
Good afternoon, everybody. Coach D back at it again, live, one time for your mind. Episode 5 of Fighting His Life with Coach D. Topic today will be forgiveness. And we're going to talk about the power in forgiveness. We're going to talk about the strength in forgiveness. We're going to talk about also the downfall of it if you don't do it or if you don't have it. This is a very, very strong subject and strong topic. And a lot of people that has issues with forgiving other people and even forgiving themselves. So, we have to talk about it a little bit, okay? It's going to be a good topic, good subject. And we're going to, get this thing going. This subject really hits home with me because it's something that it was embedded in me to do and be, is have forgiveness in my heart, in my spirit, in my soul, in my mind. Some of us have it naturally. Some of it some of it's a learned trait. And but whatever it is, it's probably the most powerful thing you can have. One of the most powerful things you can have as a human being is forgiveness in your heart. Without forgiveness in your heart, it's going to be hard for you to move on and get better in your spirit as a human being. And, it was always in me, like when somebody did something or to me or against me, it was always in me to forgive them instantly. And the reason why I believe that is because I recognize that I also have faults, and I've also had done things that people will have to forgive me for. So it became more of a natural thing for me, and that's what we have to recognize and realize as human beings, is that we do harm to people. People do harm to us, and that's just the way the way the world goes. I mean, that's just how it is. But when we understand that forgiveness is power, and forgiveness is strength, and forgiveness is understanding, forgiveness is wisdom, then when we have all that, then that's when we're going to be successful people in our spirits and in our lives. I hear a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people and deal with a lot of people, and I hear a lot of them talk about how they don't forgive their mom or their dad or their brother and sister or their friends. And it's really interesting listening to that, because I always wondered why it was so hard to do that. Well, not too long ago, why I sit up here and say that I forgive everybody, that I also felt that, God showed me that I was dealing with maybe some unforgiveness in my heart towards certain people. And I didn't recognize it until he showed me. And he showed me where I was still hurting. He showed me that I had just kind of buried it and surfed it inside, and showed me and gave me that wisdom to understand. He gave me that understanding to see my own issues with forgiveness. Now, although I didn't deal with unforgiving to to a degree that a lot of people deal with, God still showed me that I was dealing with it. And there were some things that he had to get to the surface, had to get from the surface of me inside. That way he can expose it so I can see it and then I can attack it. And I'm humbled by it, because here I was for a while thinking that that's all I did was forgive, until certain situations or certain things that came up in my system that I didn't realize that I wasn't being forgiven about. And once I did that, I was able to let it go and I was able to forgive. It's a beautiful thing. If you don't forgive, then you cannot move on. Truly, as a better person, you'll be carrying a burden for the rest of your life if you don't forgive. And understand that, for the most part, as human beings, forgiveness is for us. It's not so much the other person. It's for us. You know, it's for our life. It's for our salvation. It's for us to grow as human beings. And I'm going to tell you something. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that you have to accept disrespect or even talk to them or even deal with them. That's when forgiveness don't mean that. You can forgive somebody and still love them at a distance. But you truly have to forgive them in your heart in order for you to do that. Like, truly. It's just not a word that you can say. You have to feel it in your spirit. You have to feel it in your heart. You have to feel it in your soul. Because without forgiveness, our spirits are tormented. Without forgiveness, we're miserable. So we have to understand that whatever we do in this world, just know that, or what anybody did to us in this world, that just know that whatever you need to do to get better as a human being, it does start with yourself. And it does start with forgiveness. You open up a whole different world in your life, a whole different plans in your life when you forgive. When you forgive, you have just changed your whole life. And a lot of people don't understand that when you don't forgive, you're really hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself more than you're hurting the person that you don't want to forgive or the persons that you don't want to forgive. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself more than you're hurting them. So we have to understand that sometimes forgiveness, it doesn't mean it might take a while. If you recognize that you have to do it, it might take a while. But once you feel it in your heart, let it sink in there. Let it sink in. Because you become a greater person when you forgive. I mean, you see the stories. Some of them on talk shows, social media. It breaks my heart. You know, I've talked to people and I said, no, I would never forgive them for that. What I was taught is that if you can't forgive, then you can't be forgiven. So if you want to be forgiven, then you have to forgive. You know, we can know this one thing, that everybody in this earth has done some kind of wrong or some kind of wrongdoing to somebody else. We've all been there. So we can all say this. If we done things wrong that we needed to ask forgiveness for, then why isn't it so easy for us to forgive? Because as humans, we deal with the pride of life. We deal with hurt, pain, ego, etc. It's not an excuse not to forgive, though. You have to do that if you want to be a great person. You have to do that if you want to have a peaceful life. Having unforgiveness in your heart means there's no peace. I don't care if you think or not, there's no peace. You can be even tormented, rather, if you don't have that. And it'll blind you. Unforgiveness will blind you. It'll really have you out here thinking that your life is fine, your life is right. And there'll be that one situation that'll come right back in your face and let you know that it ain't right. I've done some things, we all have, in my life to where that I had to ask forgiveness for. There's been things done to me that I had to forgive people for. Make it a habit. Make it your life. Right? I'm not saying you gotta be best friends with people that disrespected you. I'm saying that in order to move on in a righteous way and have a clear conscience, you do have to forgive. Do I understand this one thing? That for some people, it's one of the hardest things to do. It really is. But if you could break yourself down to forgive, even if it was the hardest thing you can do, you personally are going to feel better after that. Blessings comes from forgiveness. Peace, happiness, understanding, wisdom comes from forgiveness. If I say that I forgive you out my mouth, just to say it, and I don't mean it from my heart, then it's 100% invalid. You have to believe in your heart and confess with your mouth. Believe in your heart. Certain situations might take longer. Certain situations might take years, months, weeks, we don't know. But always put in the front of your mind that the thing that you want to do is forgive. We almost live in an unforgiving world, huh? Do we have to be a part of that? There's a lot of things that seems unforgiving in this world, right? We don't have to be a part of that. All we have to do is buckle down on who we are as men and women, get to know oneself, learn oneself, and love oneself first. Now watch this. I'm not just talking about forgiving other people. I'm also talking about forgiving yourself. Huh? Condemning yourself, not forgiving yourself for things that you've done. It's also bad for you. You have to forgive yourself as well. We're not supposed to condemn ourselves. We're supposed to recognize what we did wrong. We're supposed to correct our mistakes. And then we forgive ourselves. Because that's a big one. That's one big one that I know that people deal with. It's carrying around guilt. carrying around this pain and hurt inside. And you become a prisoner of your own soul, a prisoner of your own mind. Even if somebody don't forgive you, it doesn't give you a right not to forgive yourself. It really does not give you a right to forgive yourself. So if somebody, you done something wrong and they're not in the place or the position to forgive you at that time, you pray for them. But when it comes to you personally, you repent for that and you ask forgiveness, whether they accept it or not. And when you do that, then you can have a clear mind, clear spirit, and a clear conscience. But you do have to forgive yourself. I learned that. It was one of the hardest things for me. Always thinking about some of the things that I did. And I thought that I forgave myself. But always thinking about some of the things that I did, some of the things that I said, my actions, my moves. I was ashamed. And sometimes when you're ashamed, it blinds you from forgiving yourself. And you got to go to the core of who you are and tell yourself that you are also worthy of forgiveness. You have to tell yourself that. And you have to believe it. Then the healing starts. If you can forgive yourself truly in your spirit, you'll be always able to forgive somebody else. I've had some pretty rough things done to me from my childhood up till even recently. But the first thing I do is I pray for individuals, pray for myself, and I forgive. This is going to get might be a little deep, might be a little controversial when I say this, but it doesn't matter what somebody did. You still have to forgive them. Does it mean that you have to accept what they did? No. Does it mean that you're not going to be upset? No. Or hurt? Or in pain? No. It just means that if somebody did something to you that was the most unthinkable thing, and you eventually still found in your heart to forgive them, then you just got all your power back. Forgiveness is powerful. Unforgiving is powerless. As long as you live on this earth, you'll always be having to ask for forgiveness. As long as you live on this earth, there's people that might have to forgive you. Those are the things is what makes us as human beings. Do you know forgiveness is the opening gate to your heart to love? Forgiveness also means unconditional love. Forgiveness means that you have to forgive. It doesn't matter. I was watching a deal on Facebook the other day. This guy was getting sentenced for life in prison. He had killed this man's son. Do you know that when they was about to take the inmate out of court back to jail, that the father of the victim asked the judge if he can talk to the young man And he talked to the young man. And you know what he did? He said, I forgive you and I love you. And gave him a big hug.
My son, my nephew, I forgive you on behalf of Salahuddin and his mother. My dear nephew, Trey, I don't blame you for the crime you commit. I'm not angry at you for being part of hurting my son. I'm angry at the devil. I blame the devil who misguiding you and misleading you to do such a horrible crime. I really feel sorry for your parents. They raised you and they want you to be successful. Your success is their success. Your happiness is your happiness, their happiness. Now they have to cry because of your crime that's committed. Forgiveness is the greatest gift or charity in Islam. I have to pour myself out to forgive someone that have wronged our family.
Those kind of things touch me. The power it took to do that. The love it took to do that. Knowing a man murdered your son. And you still hugged him and cried with him, shook his hand, still told him you love him, and you forgave him. See, guys like that or people like that will always be heroes in my mind and my heart. We need to take a blueprint for people like him. Because there's a lot of them. When we do that, man, you're taking your power back. Ask yourself, do you want power within your spirit, within your soul, within your life? You got to ask yourself that. That is not forgiving someone worth going to your grave with. Because like I said before, if you can't forgive, then you can't be forgiven. We all need to get back to that. We all need to get back to the life of forgiveness. We all have to do it. Doesn't mean we won't get upset, right? It doesn't mean that we won't get mad. It doesn't mean we won't get hurt. It doesn't mean that we won't feel pain. But to forgive through all that is power. So I want to say this and share this to everybody that's listening and watching. That if you struggle with that, go pray or meditate on how to get yourself out that place. It's a beautiful thing. All you have to do is forgive. Go home when you're by yourself, when you're alone. That's when you start learning who you are. That's when you need to really get deep into who you are so you can understand what forgiveness really is about and how powerful it is. And if you don't do it, how much it can hinder your life. So everybody listening, forgiveness is the key to success. Forgiveness is the key to life. Forgiveness is the key to salvation. If you don't do it, you don't get none of those things. So, in conclusion of this, I just want everybody to know that when you forgive, you have just created a long life of love, peace, and happiness. That's it. That concludes episode 5 of Fighting His Life with Coach D and Forgiveness. Bless you.